Welcome. Tonight, a quiet train awaits you beneath the stars. Its whistle is soft, its lanterns warm, and its tracks stretch into the dream. You do not need a ticket, only your tired thoughts and the wish for rest. As you settle in, I invite you to subscribe so you may return whenever sleep feels far away. And if you'd like, share in the comments where you are listening from, and what time this train carries you toward your dreams. The night is still, the platform empty, and the nocturne rails are ready to depart. The journey ahead will be calm, unhurried, and timeless. Let the rhythm of the wheels, the glow of the lanterns, and the hush of the night guide you into deep and gentle sleep. The Midnight Conductor. The platform was silent, washed in silver light from the moon. Lanterns glowed softly along the edge, their flames steady against the cool night air. In the distance came a sound, not sharp or urgent, but low and steady, like a breath drawn slowly. The tracks shimmered as though they remembered every journey that had passed before. Then, around the bend, the train appeared. It moved without rush, its wheels whispering along the rails. The carriages gleamed faintly, painted in colors too deep to name, reflecting the stars above. Each window glowed like a resting heartbeat, golden light spilling gently into the dark. The air shifted as it slowed, the hush of its approach folding into the quiet night. The train exhaled a soft sigh as it came to rest. The doors opened with no clang or groan, only a slow invitation, like a yawn at the end of a long day. Warm light spilled onto the platform, and the lanterns lining the track bowed toward it. The stillness did not break. It simply deepened, as though the world itself was leaning closer to listen. A figure stood at the first carriage, waiting. The conductor was tall, cloaked in fabric that shimmered like the night sky itself. His hat was pulled low, and though his face remained unseen, a sense of calm poured from him like water from a fountain. He raised a hand in greeting, not to command, but to welcome. No words passed between him and the waiting traveler. None were needed. The traveler stepped forward, the sound of their shoes softened by the platform's worn wood. The conductor held out a lantern, its flame steady, its glass glowing softly. The lantern required no oil, no wick, for its light was not meant for seeing, but for resting. As it was taken, the traveler felt their shoulders ease, the weight of the day loosening. The conductor turned and gestured toward the open door. Inside, the carriage was filled with amber light that seemed to rise from the very walls. Cushioned seats lined the space, each one shaped as if it had been waiting for its passenger alone. The air was scented faintly with wood smoke and lavender. The traveler stepped in, and the warmth held them gently. The carriage windows framed the night outside. The moon drifted across them, reflected in the polished glass, so that it seemed the traveler sat both inside and under the stars. The sound of the train deepened, the steady rhythm of wheels against rails, settling into a calm heartbeat. The lantern in the traveler's hand pulsed in time with it. The conductor moved silently down the aisle, pausing to adjust the lantern here, a curtain there. His presence was not commanding, but comforting, like a guardian of the night. Every motion slowed the world further, as though each step unknotted a tangle of thought. The traveler sank into their seat, eyelids heavy, carried already. The whistles sounded, low and gentle, a note stretched so long it seemed to melt into the air. It was less a call and more a lullaby, telling the rails the night, and the stars that the journey had begun. The train shifted forward, steady and smooth, as if the earth itself was yielding its path. The platform slipped away into memory. The train gathered its rhythm, the wheels whispering in perfect time, each turn slower than the pulse of a clock. The sound wove through the carriage, wrapping around the traveller like a quilt. Beyond the window, the fields passed by, bathed in moonlight and mist. The conductor stood at the far end, still and patient, a figure of silence and calm. The fields gave way to forests, tall trees standing like quiet guardians in the night. Their branches swayed slightly in the breeze, but no sound reached the carriage. Only the steady rhythm of the train carried forward, wrapping the traveller in its lull. The conductor moved once more, checking each lantern, as if ensuring no shadow lingered too long. The forest parted for a clearing, where a silver pond mirrored the stars. As the train passed, the reflection rippled gently, as though the pond itself sighed at the sight of the passing lights. The traveller leaned against the window, their breath fogging the glass, and let the soft glow of the pond drift into their thoughts. Sleep brushed closer. A gentle sway rocked the carriage, the rhythm as steady as a cradle. The lantern in the traveller's hand dimmed slightly, its light pulsing like a calm heartbeat. The conductor stood nearby, silent, yet his presence carried the weight of assurance. With each turn of the wheels, the train slipped further into stillness, as though time itself slowed. The whistle sounded again, softer than before, its notes stretching into the distance. The sound did not disturb, but rather dissolved the edges of thought. The fields blurred into mist, shapes melting into one another, until the world outside seemed less a landscape and more a dream painted across the window. Inside the carriage, the seats seemed to shift ever so slightly, molding to the weight of the traveller. Pillows that had not been there before appeared as though drawn from the air itself. The scent of lavender deepened, mingling with faint traces of cedar. The traveller's eyes grew heavy, yet the story of the journey had only begun. The conductor raised a hand, and the carriage lights dimmed, leaving only the glow of lanterns and the shimmer of moonlight through glass. A quiet hum filled the space, not mechanical, but musical, like the earth itself singing a lullaby. The traveller closed their eyes for a moment, only to open them again to find the scenery had changed. Now the train passed along a river. The water stretched endlessly, reflecting stars that shimmered as though alive. The surface rippled gently with the train's passage, scattering fragments of light across the current. The conductor glanced to the window, nodding slowly, as if to affirm that the traveller was safe to rest here, carried by both river and rail. The traveller's head rested against the seat, and their lantern dimmed further, almost fading entirely. Yet its warmth lingered, wrapping around them like a gentle blanket. The train's rhythm carried on, whispering to the river and the stars. Each turn of the wheel was a sentence, each stretch of track another line of a lullaby too old to remember. The sky shifted as the moon slid lower, and a haze of silver light bathed the landscape. The forest returned, thicker now, yet the trees bent ever so slightly as the train passed, as though bowing to the journey. In the dim glow, the traveller felt their thoughts dissolve like mist, leaving only breath and rhythm. The conductor adjusted his hat and stood watch at the carriage door, his posture steady, his presence unshakable. The train slipped into deeper silence, carrying its single traveller onward. No station waited, no destination called, for the journey itself was enough. Within the glow of lanterns and the hush of wheels, sleep rose like the tide. The carriage swayed gently, a motion so subtle it felt like floating. The windows reflected not just the outside world, but faint traces of dreams beginning to stir. Shapes appeared and dissolved, clouds turning into mountains, rivers shifting into ribbons of light. The traveller's lantern pulsed in rhythm with these illusions, as if it too dreamed along the journey. The conductor paused near the center of the carriage, resting one gloved hand on the frame of a window. He gazed outward, not at the stars or the forest, but into a distance that seemed to stretch beyond sight. His stillness filled the room, settling into the air like dust made of light. The traveller breathed deeply, their chests rising and falling with slow ease. Outside, the rails curved, and the train slid across a bridge suspended over nothing but mist. The traveller could not see where the bridge began or ended. It rose and fell as though suspended by invisible hands. The mist shifted with faint glows, like lanterns hidden deep within its folds. Each glow brightened, then dimmed, in time with the turning wheels. The bridge ended as quietly as it began, the train returning to firm ground. Hills rolled gently outside, their edges softened by moonlight. In the valleys, fog pooled like water, shimmering as though it were lit from beneath. The world felt emptied of noise, emptied of weight, leaving only the quiet sound of the journey. The whistle sang again, but this time it carried more warmth. Its tone was low, like a promise spoken softly in the dark. The sound stretched and folded into the night air, lingering longer than it should have. The traveller's body loosened with it, every sound, every vibration of the train working to unwind the last strands of wakefulness. The lantern in the traveller's hand gave one slow flicker before settling into a steady glow again. The conductor watched with patience, his hat tipped slightly, as though satisfied with the rhythm of the light. Each lantern in the carriage glowed at its own pace, some dim, some bright, all breathing together in harmony with the night. Beyond the glass, constellations appeared more clearly now, as the stars sharpened until they seemed close enough to touch. The traveller traced their patterns lazily with a finger against the glass, feeling the cool pain beneath their skin. The stars did not sit still, but shifted, realigning into shapes never seen before. They told stories only sleep could understand. The air grew cooler, carrying the crisp scent of pine. The forest thickened outside, tall trunks stretching upward until they seemed to pierce the sky. Yet no darkness entered the carriage. Every tree shimmered faintly, bathed in silvery glow as though wrapped in moonlight. The train whispered through them, its wheels steady, its presence like a lullaby to the woods. The traveller's eyes fluttered, heavy with the weight of the night. A soft haze blurred their vision, turning the glow of lanterns into golden halos. Their breath slowed to match the rhythm of the wheels. Each inhale carried warmth, each exhale released a fragment of thought. The conductor remained near, a figure of stillness, guarding the carriage with quiet care. The train eased into a long, gentle curve, hugging the side of a mountain that rose against the sky. Below, rivers of mist wound through valleys, glowing softly in reflected starlight. Above, the stars scattered into endless fields of silver. Between them, the train carried on, a vessel floating in both sky and earth, suspended within the dream of night. The mountain air drifted through the cracks of the carriage, cool and clean, tinged with the faint scent of stone and moss. The travellers shifted, pulling the blanket around their shoulders, though they had not noticed it placed there. Its fabric was soft, heavier than air, but lighter than thought, a comfort woven from something older than time itself. The conductor stood at the far end, lantern in hand, its glow steady and calm. He lifted it slightly, and the light shimmered across the windows, erasing the reflection of the traveller's face. In its place, only stars shone back, countless and endless, making it seem as if the traveller sat in the middle of the night sky itself. Outside, the train curved again, this time along a ridge that overlooked a valley so wide it seemed without end. Fog rested like a sea below, its surface shifting as though alive. At times, shapes seemed to rise from it, only to dissolve back into silence. The traveller's breath matched the fog's rhythm, slow and unhurried, each inhale a tide, each exhale release. The rhythm of the train deepened, the sound of wheels against rails becoming softer, more distant, yet steady. Each turn of the wheel seemed to fade into the next, like footsteps in an endless hall. The traveller's mind followed, thoughts thinning into fragments that floated away as easily as dust drifting in light. The carriage lanterns flickered gently, though not from lack of flame. Their glow breathed, expanding and retreating like the lungs of a sleeper. Shadows rose and fell on the walls in time, painting shapes that dissolved before the traveller could name them. The conductor nodded as if approving the night's rhythm in perfect balance. The stars above began to shift again, now trailing across the sky as if drawn on invisible strings. Some lowered themselves toward the horizon, leaving trails of silver that hung like ribbons. The train rolled beneath this canopy, its whistle releasing a single long note, soft and lingering, as if to greet the falling light. The traveller leaned back fully into the cushioned seat, every muscle unspooling with the steady sway of the carriage. Their lantern pulsed once more, slower now, as though syncing with the rhythm of their heartbeat. The conductor rested his lantern on a nearby ledge, its glow softening until it seemed no brighter than a star in the distance. The air grew cooler, carrying the crisp scent of pine. The forest thickened outside, tall trunks stretching upward until they seemed to pierce the sky. Yet no darkness entered the carriage. Every tree shimmered faintly, bathed in silvery glow as though wrapped in moonlight. The train whispered through them, its wheels steady, its presence like a lullaby to the woods. A new sound joined the rhythm of the wheels, faint at first, then steady, the rush of water. The train crossed another bridge, this one suspended over a wide, slow river. Its surface gleamed like glass, catching the glow of stars and lanterns, mirroring the carriage so clearly it seemed to ride both above and below the water at once. The conductor lowered his head, as if listening to the river's voice. The whistle did not sound this time, for the water spoke in its place. The river hummed faintly, blending with the turning wheels, a song without words. The traveller drifted further into rest, eyelids closing, though they still dreamed with eyes half open, carried by water and steel. The train left the bridge behind, though the hum of the river lingered in the air like an echo. Trees returned, their branches stretching into arcs above the rails, forming a tunnel of silver leaves. Each leaf shimmered faintly as if brushed with light from the stars. The carriage rocked gently, carrying the traveller deeper into the hush of the night. The conductor moved quietly, checking the lanterns once more. He lifted one, and its glow shifted across the traveller's face, erasing the last traces of tension that clung there. The air within the carriage grew warmer, softer, as though the very walls exhaled comfort. Every sound blurred into one quiet song, steady and sure. The train slowed, not from need, but from design. Its pace grew even calmer, every turn of the wheels stretching further, like the space between heartbeats. Outside, the forest thickened, and between the trees shone faint glimmers of water, hidden pools catching bits of moonlight. Their reflections blinked in and out of view as the train passed. The windows misted slightly, fogging from the warmth within. The traveller traced a fingertip across the glass, leaving a soft trail. Beyond it, the world blurred, shapes dissolving into dreamlike haze. The conductor rested one hand on the window frame, his stillness guiding the traveller to close their eyes, if only for a moment. When the eyes reopened, the scenery had shifted. The forest gave way to fields once more, this time dotted with faint glows that hovered above the grass. Fireflies, countless and gentle, rose in waves, their lights bobbing like lanterns in the dark. The train glided through them, its windows reflecting the tiny sparks as though carrying stars inside. The whistle released a soft note, not sharp, but rounded and warm. The fireflies responded, their glow pulsing in unison, filling the fields with a rhythm that matched the wheels on the rails. The traveller felt their bodies sink further, as though each light carried away a piece of weight, leaving only rest behind. The conductor dimmed the lanterns inside, leaving only the faintest glows. Shadows stretched long across the carriage, yet no darkness lingered. Outside, the fireflies painted rivers of gold in the air, weaving patterns that seemed designed for dreamers alone. Their glow guided the train forward, each flicker a promise of safe passage. The carriage swayed again, the movement now slower, more drawn out. The traveller's breathing matched its rhythm, every inhale aligning with the rise of the wheels, every exhale fading into the night. The conductor's lantern pulsed in time, as if syncing the heartbeat of the train, the fireflies, and the resting traveller. Beyond the fields, the horizon stretched open, vast and silver. The stars leaned closer, brighter now, as though curious about the quiet train passing below. The traveller watched them blur into streaks of light, each one a silent thread weaving across the fabric of the sky. Their glow lulled the world into deeper stillness. The conductor adjusted his hat once more, bowing slightly toward the traveller before turning back to the door of the carriage. His presence filled the space with peace, silent yet steady. The train pressed onward, each wheel turning softer than the last. The traveller's eyes closed again, and this time they lingered, caught between waking and dream. The fields stretched on until mist began to rise again, folding gently over the rails. The train moved through it without sound, its carriages gliding as if over water. Each swirl of fog glowed faintly, reflecting the lantern light within the carriage. The traveller leaned against the glass, eyelids heavy as the mist carried them deeper into calm. The whistle sang again, so low and stretched that it seemed almost part of the mist itself. The sound echoed softly, never sharp, never rushed, only blending into the quiet air. The fog thickened outside until it was impossible to see where the rails led. Yet there was no fear, only the knowledge that the path was safe. The conductor lifted his lantern high, and its glow spread across the carriage, painting the walls in warm light. The traveller felt its warmth reach them like a hand resting on their shoulder, steady and kind. The lantern dimmed again, settling into a gentle pulse that matched the rhythm of the wheels beneath their feet. As the fog thinned, a wide plain revealed itself, scattered with pools of water that gleamed under the stars. Each pool reflected not just the sky, but constellations rearranged in patterns unknown to waking eyes. The traveler watched them shift slowly, each reflection stretching into shapes that dissolved into the next, dream flowing into dream. The plain rolled on endlessly, yet the train's pace grew slower still. Each movement seemed to pause before continuing, as though encouraging the traveler to drift between moments. The pools outside glimmered with silver light, flickering like lanterns set adrift on the earth. Their reflections shimmered until they became one with the stars above. The traveler sank deeper into their seat, every breath loosening the weight in their chest. The world outside blurred into soft streaks of silver and gold, as though painted with wide, gentle strokes of a brush. The hum of the train grew fainter, blending into the stillness until it felt less like sound and more like memory. The conductor remained steady at the door, his lantern glowing faintly by his side. He did not move, yet the traveler felt his presence as strongly as the rails beneath them. It was a presence that asked for nothing and promised everything: rest, safety, quiet. The rhythm of the train slowed again, softer, quieter, gentler still. The stars above shifted once more, their light bending until it seemed they leaned closer to the earth. The sky and the land blurred together, a single canvas of silver light. The train glided through it all as though suspended in space, carried on rails that shimmered with their own quiet glow. The traveler exhaled, each breath an offering to the night. Lanterns inside the carriage dimmed to their faintest glow, just enough to outline the space. The windows became mirrors, showing not the world outside, but the traveler's own reflection, softened, blurred, almost dreamlike. Their eyes closed fully, and though they rested, it felt as if they were still watching the stars pass by. The whistle sang once more, softer than a whisper, a note so tender it seemed woven from the night itself. The train carried on, yet its motion slowed until it felt almost still, as though the rails stretched into infinity. The traveller's lantern gave one final flicker, then steadied into the faintest glow, enough to light the path of dreams. The train passed into a valley, hidden deep between mountains that cradled the night. Mist pooled at the base, glowing faintly with reflected starlight. The air grew stiller, heavier with peace, and the rhythm of the train became softer still, a lull that seemed carved from silence itself. The traveller's breathing matched its pace, slower than ever before. Lanterns swayed gently in the carriage, their golden glow dimming and brightening with each turn of the wheels. The conductor stood unmoving at the door, his presence filling the carriage with quiet strength. The traveller leaned deeper into the cushions, their body nearly weightless, every muscle unknotted, every thought dissolved into haze. Outside, the valley widened, and a silver lake appeared, vast and glass-like. The train moved along its edge, the reflection so clear it seemed the carriage floated upon the water. The stars above and below align, creating a world of endless light. The traveller's mind followed, falling into that mirrored sky, slipping further into stillness. The whistle sounded, soft and low, the note trembling across the surface of the lake until it vanished into silence. The water rippled slightly, but no sound reached the carriage. The train seemed to glide without rails, its motion smoother than before, as if the journey had become less of a passage and more of a dream unfolding. The conductor raised his lantern, the flame inside no brighter than a candle's glow. Its light reached across the carriage, brushing the traveller's face. Their eyes fluttered closed, lids heavy, lashes trembling. The glow sank into their dreams, carrying with it the warmth of firelight, the calm of water, and the hush of night. The rails reappeared faintly beneath the train, stretching onward into mist. Yet they seemed endless, unbroken, without destination. The train slowed further, the wheels turning so gradually that each moment between felt like eternity. The traveller exhaled, their chest rising and falling like a tide, their lantern dimming until it was barely there at all. The forest returned, its branches arching overhead like a cathedral built of silver and shadow. The leaves shimmered faintly, as though lit from within, each one a soft ember of light. The train slipped beneath their glow, the sound of the wheels so faint it was nearly forgotten. Only silence remained, woven into every motion, every breath. The conductor lowered his lantern and bowed his head, the brim of his hat hiding his face. He turned once, his silhouette outlined by the faint glow, and then stilled again. His presence was no longer a guide, but a keeper of silence. Ensuring the traveller's rest would remain unbroken, the night carried gently toward its close. The stars dimmed slightly, as though veiled by dream. The train pressed onward, but now it felt less like a journey and more like drifting. The world outside had dissolved into mist and silver, its edges lost. The traveller's breath slowed to the quietest rhythm, each inhale shallow, each exhale long, the sound softer than sleep itself. The train continued into the infinite night, its wheels whispering until they were indistinguishable from silence. The lanterns glowed faintly, just enough to keep the dream alive. The conductor stood watch, a still guardian of the rails. The traveller surrendered fully, wrapped in warmth and peace, carried endlessly along the quiet path of the nocturne rails. The glass-domed carriage. The next carriage was unlike any other, its roof arched high above in a dome of glass. Moonlight poured through in silver streams, scattering across polished wood and velvet cushions. The stars hung directly overhead, unbroken by roof or rafters, and the night sky seemed close enough to touch. The traveller stepped inside, breath slowing at the sight of such quiet wonder. Lanterns glowed softly along the edges, but their light bowed to the brilliance of the heavens. The glass curved seamlessly, without frame or join, creating the illusion of floating in open air. Above, constellations drifted, their patterns sharper than ever seen from the earth. The conductor remained at the entrance, silent, watching with patient calm. The seats within were deep and welcoming, shaped as though they remembered every dreamer who had rested there before. Cushions rose to cradle shoulders and arms. Pillows appeared where needed most. The traveller sank into one, the softness holding them as securely as a cocoon. The dome above shimmered, and the stars shifted slowly into new shapes. At first, the stars formed familiar figures: hunters, rivers, crowns. Yet as the minutes passed, they rearranged themselves, tracing images that belonged not to maps, but to dreams. A silver bird stretched its wings, then dissolved into a wave of light. A lantern appeared, floating among the constellations, its glow answering the lamps below. The train's rhythm softened further, the wheels turning so gently it felt more like drifting than travel. The dome carried the sound upward, stretching it until it became almost musical, like a note strung across invisible strings. The stars pulsed faintly in time, their glow a lull that wrapped itself around the traveler's eyes. The conductor walked softly down the aisle, his lantern glowing faintly, reflecting across the glass dome in endless echoes. He paused beside the traveler's seat, adjusting a cushion with a careful hand. Though he never spoke, his presence said all that was needed. Here was safety, silence, and the certainty of sleep. Beyond the dome, clouds began to gather, their edges glowing silver beneath the moon. They drifted lazily, weaving in and out of sight, sometimes parting to reveal new patterns of stars. The train glided through them, so that the dome filled with mist that curled and swirled like smoke, then cleared again to starlight. The traveler lifted a hand toward the glass, fingertips brushing the cool surface. For a moment it felt as if the glass was not there, that only the sky separated them from the stars above. Their reflection shimmered faintly, then vanished, replaced entirely by the constellations that bent and shifted, drawing the eyes further into dream. The dome grew darker as a shadow passed across the sky. The moon moved behind a cloud, and the stars brightened, sharper and closer than ever before. They hung suspended, vast yet intimate, their light bathing the carriage in silver hues. The traveler's chest rose and fell in rhythm, their breath dissolving into the silence. The whistles sounded long and low, yet softened by the dome until it seemed distant, like the voice of the night itself. The sound lingered above, fading into the constellations, where it spread like ripples through the stars. The traveler closed their eyes for a moment, seeing those ripples continue even behind their lids. Moonlight returned as the clouds parted, spilling across the dome in soft rivers of silver. The cushions beneath the traveler seemed to sink deeper, holding them as though the stars themselves wished to cradle weary bones. Every breath fell into time with the train's movement, slower, quieter, until thought thinned into silence. Constellations above drifted into shapes that resembled stories untold. A fox leapt across the sky, dissolving into sparks. A tree rose from threads of light, its branches heavy with silver fruit. Each figure flickered for a moment, then slipped into another. The sky became a book of endless pages, written only for those who rested here. Lanterns along the edges flickered faintly, blending their golden light with the silver glow of the stars. Their soft dance painted the dome with rippling shadows that swayed in rhythm with the rails. Within the traveler's chest, the beating of the heart slowed, the sound fainter with each passing mile, until it became part of the lull itself. A hush settled over the carriage, heavier than silence yet lighter than sound. It felt as if the dome carried not only starlight but stillness from some higher place. The traveler leaned back, eyelids closing for moments at a time, opening again to see constellations changed, rearranged, waiting patiently to be discovered. Clouds drifted once more, filling the dome with silver mist. Their edges glowed faintly, as if lit from within, curling across the glass until it seemed the traveler was riding through the sky itself. The train's whistle hummed low, vibrating through the mist, dissolving into its folds. The carriage rocked, weightless, as though floating above the earth. Stars sharpened when the mist thinned again. So close they seemed to lean down. Light poured into the dome, painting every seat and cushion with its glow. The conductor adjusted his lantern, and the reflection of its flame joined the constellations above. a golden ember among silver sparks, keeping balance between earth and sky. Breath by breath, the traveler felt weight fall away, each exhale loosening what the day had pressed upon them. Fingers relaxed, shoulders sank, and thoughts slipped further from reach. The dome blurred in vision until only the glow of stars remained, each one pulsing softly, their rhythm indistinguishable from the beating of the heart. A soft hum filled the dome as though the stars themselves were singing. It was not music in the waking sense, but vibration, something felt more than heard. The train's wheels added their steady rhythm, and together they wove a lullaby carried on invisible threads. The traveler drifted toward its pull, sinking into its comfort. The landscape shifted below, though it seemed distant now, as if the carriage had risen higher into the air. Hills rolled into rivers of mist, valleys filled with silver pools. From above, it all looked like fragments of the night sky fallen to earth, each pool mirroring the stars until earth and heavens blended as one. In that union of sky and land, the train moved on, gliding so smoothly it no longer felt bound to rails. Every lantern dimmed further, until there were only sparks, their glow like scattered fireflies. The conductor bowed his head slightly, his hat shadowing his face, and the carriage became nothing more than a cradle beneath the endless night. Far above, a comet appeared, trailing a long silver veil that stretched across the dome. Its light shimmered across the cushions, reflecting in the traveler's half-closed eyes. The comet moved slowly, as though it had nowhere to be but here, guiding the carriage deeper into the quiet night. Its glow lingered long after it passed from sight. The dome's glass seemed to dissolve, and for a moment the stars appeared so near that the traveler could have reached up to touch them. Fingers twitched against the air, brushing nothing yet feeling warmth as though a star had rested in their palm. The sensation faded, leaving only comfort behind, sinking into muscle and bone. Gentle vibrations hummed beneath the floorboards, rocking the carriage with a rhythm softer than waves on a shore. Each turn of the wheels stretched longer, every pause between rolling deeper. The traveler's breath followed, each inhale slow, each exhale falling away like mist over water. Time became thinner with each passing moment. Cloud banks rose again, this time thicker, spilling shadows across the dome. But the clouds glowed faintly from within, painted with hidden light. Shapes formed in their folds, drifting figures of birds and lanterns and rivers. The traveler watched as they twisted and swirled, the soft parade of sky carrying them toward sleep. Lanterns within the carriage flickered again, their glow reaching further into the haze. Their reflections bounced across the glass, scattering into countless tiny flames that danced among the stars. The line between lantern and constellation blurred, as if firelight and starlight had joined, holding hands to weave one luminous lullaby. The conductor walked slowly through the dome, each step lighter than sound. His lantern cast ripples of warmth over the mist, pushing shadows aside without force. He paused beside the traveler, lowering the flame until it pulsed in rhythm with their breath. No words passed, yet reassurance filled the air like a soft blanket. Stars above brightened suddenly, forming a great circle. Within it, smaller constellations spun, creating the image of a wheel turning slowly. The train's own rhythm matched it, wheel to sky, motion to motion. The traveler's body swayed with the cadence, caught in its pull, each heartbeat aligning with the turning of the heavens. Hills stretched faintly below, their outlines dim through the haze. At their peaks, fires glowed, steady and golden, like watchful eyes of the earth. They did not flicker or fade, but remained constant as the train passed. Their warmth seemed to join with the dome's glow, reminding the traveller that all journeys here were safe. The air cooled again, and the scent of rain drifted in through unseen cracks. It was not the rain of storms, but the soft drizzle of spring, clean and tender. The traveller breathed deeply, and each breath seemed to wash away what remained of waking thought. Only silence followed, heavy but kind. Constellations rearranged once more, this time into a path of stars that stretched into the horizon. It mirrored the rails below, creating the illusion that the train rode on both track and sky. The dome shimmered as if it belonged to both worlds, carrying its traveller not across land, but into the heart of dream itself. The stars above deepened in colour, shifting from silver to pale blue, then two shades of violet that seemed to hum with quiet energy. Their glow seeped gently into the carriage, soaking the cushions and walls with calming hues. The traveller's breathing grew even slower, carried by the flow of colour until it felt as if the night itself was inside them. A cluster of lights drifted into view, not stars, but glowing orbs that floated just outside the dome. They hovered close, circling the carriage in slow, deliberate spirals. Each one pulsed like a heartbeat, dimming and brightening in turn. The traveller watched them drift, their eyelids heavy, each pulse drawing them further inward toward sleep. The dome reflected the orbs until it seemed they filled the entire sky. Light surrounded the traveller, above and below, endless and soft. When they closed their eyes, the glow remained, painted on the inside of their lids like warm embers. It was not light that demanded vision, but light that asked nothing at all, only to be felt. Beyond the floating lights, a wide plain stretched out beneath the stars, its grasses shimmering silver in the night. The train glided along its edge, the rails blending into the horizon until they disappeared entirely. The plain itself looked like another sky, a reflection turned solid, carrying its glow without beginning or end. The whistle hummed low, its note weaving into the night. The sound stretched across the plain until it echoed back, gentler than before, as though the earth itself had answered. The traveller felt the vibration in their chest, a warmth that lingered long after the note had dissolved, coaxing them closer to stillness. Lanterns inside flickered with renewed softness, each one glowing faintly like the orbs outside. Their reflections merged in the dome, filling the space with circles of light that overlapped and swirled together. The traveller sank deeper into their seats, weightless, as though the cushions were made of mist or clouds. Clouds returned above, drifting slowly across the dome. They did not block the stars, but softened them, turning sharp points into hazy patches of silver glow. The effect was like a watercolor painting brushed gently across the sky, each stroke blending seamlessly into the next. The train swayed with it, another brushstroke in motion. The conductor raised his lantern slightly, and its glow reached into the soft haze. For a moment the flame mirrored itself, scattering until it looked like hundreds of small fires floating among the stars. The traveller's gaze blurred, unable to tell which was sky, which was lantern, which was dream. All merged indistinguishable. The train slowed once again, wheels dragging their sound longer, as though stretching time itself. Each turn lingered, fading into silence before the next began. The traveller's thoughts followed that rhythm, fewer with each cycle, until there was no thought left, only the sensation of breathing, of being carried, of being held. A soft hum filled the dome, faint as a whisper. It was unclear whether it came from the rails, the stars, or the heart of the train itself. Yet it lulled the carriage, its note rising and falling in time with the rhythm of rest. The travellers surrendered to it, their body as still as the night, their dreams already forming. Mist gathered outside the dome, curling into ribbons that glowed faintly in starlight. They drifted upward as if drawn by invisible strings, twining across the glass until it seemed the sky was breathing. Each curl slowed, rose higher, then dissolved into the night. The travellers' eyes followed them until their vision blurred into dream. Stars rearranged themselves again, forming a spiral that stretched across the heavens. Slowly it turned, drawing the travellers' gaze inward toward its center. The spiral pulsed in time with the rhythm of the train, a gentle alignment of sky and motion. The conductor watched silently, his lantern steady, his presence an anchor within the shifting light. The cushions beneath the traveller deepened further, almost swallowing them in softness. The air carried the faint scent of lavender and cedar, soothing every part of the body. Fingers loosened, shoulders dropped, and the rhythm of their breath matched the wheels. The dome above swayed gently with the motion, its stars shimmering like threads of silk. Clouds formed, shapes more vivid than before, drifting across the dome in figures that resembled memories. A childhood home appeared, then a winding path through fields, then faces blurred with warmth. They shifted quickly, dissolving before they could be held, like thoughts half remembered. The traveller released them easily, letting them fade. Lanterns dimmed almost to embers, their glow faint but unwavering. Their reflections painted faint halos around the stars above, blurring them until the dome seemed covered in soft rings of light. Each halo pulsed gently, overlapping with the next, creating a canopy of circles that turned the carriage into a cocoon of golden sleep. Outside, the land vanished entirely, replaced by mist that stretched in every direction. The dome showed only sky above and fog below, as if the carriage now floated between worlds. The train moved without resistance, its sound barely present, its rhythm softer than a heartbeat. The traveller's eyelids lowered, unwilling to rise again. The whistle called out, but so faintly it felt like an echo of itself. The sound stretched into silence before fading completely, leaving only the soft vibration of the train. That absence became its own comfort, a stillness that felt infinite, reminding the traveller that there was nowhere to go, nowhere to be, except here. The stars above blurred until they became a single wash of light, silver and pale blue, like paint brushed across canvas. The dome glowed with their haze, filling the carriage with a glow so soft it was almost unnoticeable. The traveller's chest rose slowly, fell slower still, their breathing nearly lost in the rhythm of the rails. Shadows stretched across the dome, not heavy or sharp, but long and flowing. They bent across the cushions like soft fabric draped in folds. The traveller felt them cover their body, a weightless blanket spun from starlight and silence. Each moment inside it loosened what remained of wakefulness, unraveling thought into threads of rest. The conductor lifted his lantern one final time. Its glow pulsed gently, syncing with the rhythm of the train, with the breathing of the traveller, with the slow turning of the stars. Then he lowered it, letting its flame dim until it blended with the haze. The carriage settled into stillness, a cradle suspended in the quiet night. Beyond the dome, a faint aurora shimmered across the horizon. Colors of green and violet undulated in silence, ribbons of light folding and twisting as if woven by unseen hands. They stretched higher, spilling faint reflections into the glass, their glow gentle enough to soothe, their movement as slow as drifting breath. The aurora spread wider, filling the sky until the stars themselves seemed wrapped in its glow. It moved with rhythm, bending in arcs that mirrored the sway of the carriage. The traveller's gaze followed its waves until their eyes closed naturally, the colors lingering behind lids like ripples of light across water. The conductor stood still at the far end of the carriage, lantern low in his hand. His form was quiet shadow against the dome, a figure that asked nothing but offered steadiness. His silence filled the carriage more deeply than words, and even without speech the traveller felt guided, watched over, assured of rest. Mist gathered again outside, but this time it glowed faintly with colors of the aurora, as though it had absorbed their light. It clung to the train, wrapping each carriage in soft hues. The wheels carried on in steady rhythm, the sound faint as a heartbeat muffled by distance. Too quiet to disturb, just enough to comfort. A cluster of stars brightened suddenly, gathering into a circle above the dome. They glowed so strongly they seemed to watch the train, following its motion with a gaze of calm. Slowly, the circle widened, stretching until it resembled a halo around the entire carriage. Light spilled downward, covering everything in silver warmth. Inside, lanterns pulsed faintly as though bowing to the halo above. Their glow was subdued, almost invisible, yet still present, syncing with the rhythm of the rails. The traveller sank deeper into the cushions, the blanket around them growing heavier, as if layered with silence itself. Breaths slowed further until they became nearly unnoticeable. Outside, the horizon vanished entirely into haze, leaving only the train suspended between sky and mist. The dome became the whole of the world, filled only with stars, aurora, and silence. There was no land to mark passage, no stations to expect, only the steady glide of wheels carrying the traveller deeper into dream. The whistle gave one final low note, soft and warm, its vibrations spreading through glass and cushions. It lingered just long enough to reassure, then faded into the hum of the carriage. The note left its echo behind, folding into the memory of the traveller's breath, joining their rhythm so seamlessly it felt eternal. Stars above shifted once more, dimming slightly as though retreating. They blurred into a soft haze of light, no longer sharp points, but endless glow. The aurora faded too, its ribbons dissolving into the silver background of dream. The dome was left with nothing but quiet radiance, a single wash of light cradling the carriage. The conductor lowered his lantern until its flame was no brighter than a spark. He bowed his head, and the carriage seemed to pause with him suspended in the endless hush. The traveller drifted fully now, thoughts dissolved, body at rest, eyes closed. The train moved on without sound, carrying them deeper into a night that asked for nothing more. The dome filled with a pale glow, as though dawn approached, but no sun ever rose. It was not morning light, only a gentler shade of night, a brightness that carried peace without time. The traveller shifted slightly, body sinking deeper, as though the cushions were drawing them into a space where nothing could reach. Clouds drifted once more across the glass, thin and faint, their edges barely visible. They rolled silently, painting shadows across the dome, slow as the turning of breath. Each shadow soothed the traveler further, covering them like layers of cloth, each one lighter than the last, each one lulling them closer to stillness. The stars flickered faintly, not with sharp light, but as embers do when a fire softens into its rest. They pulsed at irregular intervals, some brightening, some dimming, until the dome resembled a sky of quiet sparks ready to fade. The traveler's chest rose and fell, as steady as the star's rhythm, unhurried, unbroken. Outside, mist thickened, its glow faint but ever-present, wrapping the train in a cocoon of silence. The rails were no longer visible, the land gone, the horizon vanished. Only this floating carriage remained, a cradle gliding gently through air. The wheels turned slower, each sound stretching into long, soothing silence. The conductor's lantern dimmed to its faintest glow, barely visible in the haze. It was not needed any more, for the dome above carried its own light, a lingering radiance that required no flame. The conductor stood still, a watchful figure whose silence filled the space. The traveler had no need to see, only to rest. The cushions grew warmer beneath the traveler, the fabric holding them as though woven from dream itself. Muscles loosened fully, and their breath deepened into the rhythm of sleep. The dome blurred in their vision, dissolving into faint circles of light, until even those slipped away, leaving only darkness, soft and safe. A faint hum replaced all other sound, so soft it could not be placed. It was part of the train, part of the stars, part of the air itself. It carried no melody, only vibration, felt more than heard. The traveler surrendered to it completely, their thoughts now nothing more than shadows at the edge of dream. The rails stretched endlessly, though unseen, carrying the carriage forward into nothing but night. There was no destination, no end, only the assurance of motion. The traveler's breath matched it perfectly, the rise and fall of the chest, one with the imagined turning of wheels. All became one rhythm, one lull. Stars dimmed further, until they were only a faint haze of light behind the dome. The aurora was gone, the clouds vanished, and only silence remained. The carriage rocked slightly, as if reminding the traveler it was still there, holding them steady. The rocking slowed, each motion softer, until it became nearly still. The conductor bowed his head one final time, his lantern now nothing more than a spark in the dark. The dome shimmered faintly, silver glow stretched thin, then faded into quiet. The carriage continued without sound, a vessel drifting into dream. The traveler rested fully, lost to the night, carried forever along the glass-domed carriage. The Riverbound Line. Beyond the glass-domed carriage lay another door, its frame carved with flowing patterns like ripples of water. The traveler stepped inside and found the new carriage open on both sides, its walls formed of mist. Beneath the floor stretched a glowing river, silver in the moonlight, curving and winding as far as the eye could see. The train no longer rolled along steel rails, but floated on bridges of vapor that followed the river's bends. Each bridge shimmered, as though woven from threads of light, appearing just ahead, vanishing behind. The sound of water lapping below replaced the clatter of wheels, soothing as a lullaby whispered from the earth itself. Moonlight spilled across the river, catching on ripples and currents. Fish with scales like glass swam just beneath the surface, glowing faintly as they drifted with the current. Their soft shimmer lit the water from within, so that the river seemed alive, breathing, carrying dreams along its endless flow. The traveller leaned against the edge of the carriage, mist curling around their arms like fabric. It was cool but gentle, a veil that left no dampness. Looking down, they saw reflections in the water, constellations, lanterns, even a faint outline of their own face, blurred as if belonging to another time, another dream. The conductor walked along the misty floor, his lantern brighter here, its flame reflected in the water below. Each flicker doubled itself, glowing once above, once beneath, until it seemed the lantern contained an entire constellation. The river caught its light, carrying it downstream in glittering waves that pulsed with the train's rhythm. The river curved, and the carriage followed without effort, as though drawn by unseen hands. Bridges of mist rose ahead, curling upward like silver ribbons before dissolving behind. The sound of flowing water grew stronger, filling the carriage with steady music. The traveller's heartbeat slowed to match its rhythm, calm and unhurried. Banks of the river appeared in the distance, lined with trees heavy with pale blossoms. Their petals glowed faintly, drifting on the breeze before falling into the current. Each petal landed silently, floating downstream until it dissolved into silver light. The river carried them as tenderly as it carried dreams. The traveller's eyes followed the blossoms, their drift unhurried, their journey certain. Watching them, a sense of ease filled the heart, as if even fleeting things found their place here. The petals glowed brighter before fading, leaving behind ripples that stretched outward. Soft waves repeating into the distance until all merged with the stars. Lanterns along the edges of the carriage glimmered, their glow mingling with moonlight and river light, all sources blurred into one harmony, soft enough to blur edges, strong enough to hold form. The mist shifted with the current below, creating waves in the air that rocked the carriage like a cradle drifting on water. The whistle of the train sounded once, long and low, but instead of echoing through the sky, it sank into the river. The water rippled outward, glowing more brightly where the sound touched. Fish rose to the surface as though listening, their glowing scales shining in patterns like music made visible. The traveller smiled faintly, eyes heavy with rest. The current grew stronger, carrying the train along bends that glowed with moonlight. Each curve revealed new sights, clusters of reeds swaying with the water's pulse, rocks shining as if dusted with silver, and distant waterfalls spilling in silence. The traveller felt the pull of the current within themselves, guiding them deeper into calm. A flock of birds appeared overhead, their wings translucent, trailing streaks of pale light. They glided silently, mirroring the direction of the river. Their reflections shimmered in the water, creating endless doubles of their flight. The traveller watched until the birds became nothing more than drifting sparks, vanishing into the mist. The conductor lifted his lantern higher, and its glow spread across the water like spilled honey. Ripples shimmered in golden tones, mixing with silver moonlight. The contrast was gentle, warm against cool, weaving together in patterns that rocked the senses. The traveller felt that warmth reached their chest, loosening every remaining trace of tension. Trees leaned closer to the banks, their branches heavy with lantern-like fruit. Each orb glowed faintly, swaying as the train passed. Some fell, tumbling soundlessly into the river, where they melted into globes of light that drifted downstream. The traveller's eyes followed them, the glowing orbs becoming markers of passing time. Mist thickened around the carriage, curling inward with each breath of the river. It carried the scent of rain and earth, rich and grounding, though softened to a whisper. The air became heavy with peace, draping itself over the traveller like a blanket. Their eyes fluttered closed, but opened again to glimpse the shimmering flow. The river narrowed, its current quickening as the carriage followed its curves. Banks of stone rose on either side, smooth and shining in the moonlight. Water rushed between them, glowing with streaks of pale fire as though stars had fallen into the current. The sound of rushing water lulled the traveller into deeper rest. Beyond the rocks, the river widened again into a vast, mirror-like surface. Stars reflected so perfectly it was impossible to tell where sky ended and water began. The dome of night seemed doubled, surrounding the train above and below. The traveller felt suspended in infinity, carried through a world with no boundaries. A soft song echoed across the water, though no source could be seen. It was not voice, not instrument, but something deeper, like the river itself was humming. The melody drifted into the carriage, winding around the traveller's ears until it merged with their breathing. Sleep tugged at their thoughts, asking them to surrender. Lanterns dimmed in unison, leaving the river's glow to guide the way. Fish beneath the surface rose again, trailing light in winding lines. Together they formed paths across the water, guiding the carriage like stars guide sailors. The traveller smiled faintly, eyes closing longer, head sinking against the cushions. The whistle sounded once more, gentle and low, and the current answered with a shimmer that spread across the river. The glow reached the banks, climbed the branches, and lit the blossoms. Everything seemed alive with the sound, even the mist vibrating faintly. The traveller's heart followed, slower with each beat, a drum dissolving into silence. The river carried the train into a canyon where high walls of stone rose on either side. Water glowed brighter here, reflecting bands of moonlight onto the cliffs. The walls seemed alive, shifting with shadows that danced like ancient figures. The traveller watched the shapes move slowly, eyes half closed, mind drifting toward dream. From the cliffs, vines hung low, trailing blossoms that opened only in moonlight. Their petals sparkled faintly, shedding soft dust that fell into the water. Each particle glowed before vanishing, like sparks that rose from a quiet fire. The traveller breathed deeply, imagining the air itself had been dusted with light. The conductor passed by, his lantern steady as ever. Its glow reflected across the traveller's face, warming the cool light of the river. He did not stop, but his presence lingered, a reminder that the journey was guided, safe, and endless. The traveller leaned back, comforted by the rhythm of lantern and water. The canyon widened into a basin where waterfalls spilled from unseen heights. Their streams glowed silver, dissolving into mist before touching the river. Drops hung in the air like stars, frozen in time, drifting slowly before fading. The carriage rocked slightly as it entered the basin, every sound softened into hush. Above the basin, stars shone brighter, filling the sky with clusters that stretched into rivers of light. The traveller tilted their head back, watching them mirror the flow below. For a moment it seemed a train rode not just along water, but through a sky reflected twice, one above, one beneath. The waterfall's mist curled through the carriage, carrying the scent of fresh rain. It clung to the cushions, cool and soothing against the skin. Each breath filled the traveler with weightless calm, erasing what little restlessness remained. Their hands lay open, palms turned upward, ready to hold nothing but the quiet of night. The river narrowed once again, pulling the carriage forward at a slower pace. Banks returned on either side, lined with stones covered in moss that glowed faintly in the moonlight. Their soft green shimmer looked alive, pulsing gently as though beating hearts lined the river's edge. The glow washed over the traveller's half-closed eyes. A cluster of fireflies appeared above the banks, their lights flashing in unison. They drifted alongside the train, weaving patterns that looked like writing in the air. The message was unreadable, yet soothing, like a lullaby written in light. The traveller's eyes blurred until the fireflies became stars again. The river deepened, its surface darker and slower. Beneath it, shadows of enormous fish moved gracefully, their scales faintly glowing as they turned. They glided in silence, keeping pace with the train. Their presence was calm, not threatening, like guardians who had always watched the water and would always remain. Lanterns dimmed once again, until their glow was barely visible. The river itself carried enough light, shimmering with every ripple. The traveller's breathing slowed further, chest rising and falling as though matched to the water's motion. Thoughts fell silent, replaced only by the steady, endless song of the current. The train glided onto a wide stretch of river where the surface was perfectly smooth. Stars reflected so clearly it felt as though the carriage was floating through space itself. The traveller gazed down, unsure if the water was below or the sky had opened beneath them. Both seemed endless, both held in silence. From the distance came faint lights, drifting on the surface like lanterns released by unseen hands. They bobbed gently, glowing in soft colors of gold, blue, and green. As the train approached, the lanterns parted and aligned, forming a pathway across the water. The current carried them forward, their glow weaving into the flow. The traveller leaned closer, watching as each lantern's light pulsed faintly, brightening, then dimming, in rhythm with the heartbeat of the river. The pulses spread outward in ripples, touching the water until the entire surface glowed softly. It was a glow that did not wake, but coaxed deeper rest, the light of calm itself. Above, a veil of clouds moved slowly, covering clusters of stars but leaving faint light behind. Their passing softened the scene, blurring sharp reflections into hazy glow. The carriage swayed lightly, matching the shift of the clouds, rocking the traveller deeper into stillness. They let their head rest fully, eyes heavy with dream. Banks appeared again, though barely visible through mist. Trees leaned toward the water, their roots dipping beneath the current. Tiny, glowing creatures darted among the roots, flickering in and out of sight. Their movements looked playful, yet calm, like guardians of the edges. The traveller smiled faintly, then closed their eyes again. The conductor paused at the far end of the carriage, lantern steady in his hand. Its reflection doubled in the river, creating the illusion of two lights, one above, one below. He held it still for a long while, letting its glow merge with the rhythm of the water as though anchoring the dream in place. The whistle sounded again, softer than before, its notes spreading through the mist. This time the river glowed brighter, as though answering. The glow rippled outward, climbing the banks, illuminating trees, and fading gently into the air. The traveller's chest rose with the sound, fell with the silence, breath slowed into near stillness. A bridge of mist rose ahead, delicate and shimmering. The carriage rolled across it without sound, the floor glowing faintly underfoot. Beneath, the river widened into a dark pool where no reflection stirred. The pool looked endless, yet safe, a depth meant only for holding quiet, for containing dreams too deep to see. As the bridge faded behind, the river narrowed into a ribbon, twisting through low hills. Their slopes glowed faintly with moss, creating the impression of stars spilled upon the land. The train glided smoothly, never faltering, the rails of mist unbroken. The traveller's mind drifted further, thought dissolving like clouds into the night. Lanterns within the carriage dimmed again, their glow matching the faint shimmer of the mossy hills. The dome of night overhead remained clear, filled with countless stars. The train moved as though guided by them, pulled along a celestial map reflected in the water below. The traveller's breath matched it, steady and infinite. A faint breeze stirred the mist, carrying the soft scent of river reeds and rain. It drifted through the carriage, brushing gently against the traveller's skin. The coolness balanced the warmth of the lanterns, a harmony that felt designed to lull, eyes half closed. They inhaled deeply, each breath longer than the last. The river turned once more, curving around an island of stone. On its surface, pools of light shimmered, not from lanterns, but from the stars themselves. They appeared to have fallen there, resting on the rock like jewels. The train passed silently, leaving ripples that bent around the stones before fading back into stillness. Fish rose again beneath the water, their scales glowing brighter than before. They swam in patterns, forming circles that widened and crossed one another. Each circle glowed for a while, then broke apart, rejoining the current. The traveller's thought mirrored them, forming briefly before dissolving, leaving only calm behind. The conductor raised his lantern slightly, casting long beams across the river. The glow stretched far, revealing reeds swaying gently at the banks. Insects flitted among them, their tiny lights glowing like sparks carried by the wind. The traveller's gaze followed until the motion blurred and their eyes lowered again. Clouds thickened overhead, dark but not heavy. Their edges glowed faintly with starlight, softening the sky into a pale canvas. The river reflected their shape, turning the water into flowing shadows. The train glided forward, part of that painting, unhurried, carrying its traveller through brushstrokes of silver and grey. A faint hum rose from the river, like music carried in the current. It was steady, low, and wordless, yet so familiar it felt like a memory returning. The traveller leaned into the sound, letting it wrap around them. Each vibration pressed deeper into their chest, dissolving what remained of wakefulness. The whistle sounded once more, but softer than any before. It was less a call than a sigh, rising and fading almost instantly. The river responded with a shimmer that stretched into the mist. The glow lingered for a long moment, then thinned again, as though the world had returned to perfect silence. Lanterns along the carriage dimmed nearly to nothing, their glow like fading stars. Only the river's reflection remained, guiding the way forward. The traveller's chest rose and fell slowly, each breath deeper than the last, their body heavier, their thoughts vanishing into the rhythm of water and light. The current slowed, and the surface of the water smoothed once more. Reflections sharpened until the carriage seemed to float in endless sky. Stars above aligned with their doubles below, creating a tunnel of light. The train glided silently through it, suspended between two heavens, its traveler lost to dream. The conductor lowered his lantern, its flame now a faint glow. He stood still, the mist curling around him, a guardian of silence. The carriage swayed gently, the motion indistinguishable from the rhythm of breath. The traveler surrendered fully, wrapped in the soundless cradle of the riverbound line, carried endlessly forward. The river widened into a vast stretch where water and sky became indistinguishable. The stars above shimmered directly beneath, their light meeting in the middle. The train glided forward, balanced between the two, as if carried not by rails or current, but by the night itself. The traveler's breath matched its still rhythm. Mist drifted low over the surface, glowing faintly in the starlight. It curled in slow ribbons that parted as the carriage moved through them, then closed again behind. Each curl carried the sense of doors being drawn, closing gently, leaving only silence in their wake. The traveller's eyes closed longer, opening only halfway again. Lanterns flickered faintly, their glow reflecting in the glassy surface of the river. The reflections stretched, elongated, until they looked like threads connecting sky and water. The train rolled along those threads, weaving them tighter, stitching night and river into one. The traveller felt stitched within it, held fast by calm. The conductor lifted his lantern, and the river rippled in response. Circles of light spread outward, touching the banks where glowing reeds swayed. Their hum returned, faint and steady, vibrating low through the carriage. The traveller's heartbeat slowed to match it, steady, unbroken, becoming part of the current's song. From the distance, faint silver arches rose, bridges of mist stretching across the water. They glowed softly, like doorways waiting to be crossed. The train passed beneath each one, and with every crossing, sound grew fainter, weight fell lighter, until the world itself felt like it was dissolving into dream. The sky filled with drifting clouds, their edges glowing in starlight. They slid across the heavens, mirrored perfectly below. The dome above blurred into haze, a canvas washed in pale greys and blues. The traveller's body softened further, sinking deeper into the cushions, head heavy, breath steady, thoughtless in the glow. Fish returned, their scales glimmering as they moved in spirals beneath the water. Each spiral expanded outward, glowing like faint rings of light. They overlapped until the entire river seemed filled with circles. The train drifted across them without disturbing their pattern, as though it too were part of their endless dance. The whistle sang again, a note so soft it could barely be heard. It lingered briefly, then disappeared into mist. The river caught its sound, turning it into ripples of silver glow that spread outward. The traveller's eyes closed, lashes resting against their cheeks, but even behind them the glow remained faint as dream. The current slowed further, water darkening into a still pool. The reflection of the train stretched perfectly across its surface, showing every lantern, every shadow. The pool looked like a mirror to another world, one where time no longer moved. The carriage slid across it, silently, weightless, endless. The conductor lowered his lantern until it was only a spark, its glow mirrored in the water below. He stood motionless, as though guarding the hush itself. The traveller breathed in, breathed out, breath long and slow, carried by the rhythm of silence. The riverbound line pressed onward, carrying dreams deeper into night. Beyond the still pool, the river stretched into mist, so thick it looked like clouds had fallen to earth. The train entered quietly, the rails of vapor glowing just enough to guide the way. No horizon could be seen, no banks, no stars. Only soft whiteness surrounded the carriage, endless and calm. The mist swirled slowly, folding into itself as though stirred by invisible hands. Shapes rose briefly, hints of lanterns, figures, branches, before dissolving again. The traveller watched them blur, mind too heavy to follow. Their eyes slipped closed, and the images continued inside, drifting in silence across the surface of thought. Lanterns flickered once, their glow steadying, then dimming further. The conductor stood at the far end, his lantern the only point of light within the haze. Its glow did not waver, though faint, and the train followed it deeper into the clouded river. The traveller's breathing slowed further still, as soft as the mist itself. The whistle gave a final note, quiet as a sigh. The sound stretched outward but was quickly swallowed by the mist. For a moment, no sound remained at all, only the rhythm of wheels turning on unseen rails. Silence thickened, not empty but full, as if it carried every dream ever held in night. The mist parted briefly, revealing clusters of glowing blossoms floating on the river's surface. They drifted gently, their petals luminous, their light steady and kind. The blossoms gathered in groups, then spread apart again, their glow soft enough to coax the eyes closed. The traveller drifted with them, mind surrendered to rest. Stars returned faintly above, blurred by the haze but still visible. Their glow was weaker now, more distant, but comforting in its persistence. They shimmered like embers, refusing to fade entirely. The train glided forward beneath them, moving slower with each mile, as though time itself was easing into sleep. The cushions beneath the traveller seemed to deepen further, drawing them inward. Every breath felt slower, stretched longer, until minutes passed unnoticed. Their arms lay still, their body heavy with calm. Only the faint glow of the blossoms remained in their thoughts, a steady light that carried them deeper. The river grew darker as the mist thickened again, its glow reduced to faint threads across the surface. The conductor lowered his lantern, and its reflection flickered in the water, twin lights dancing in silence. The carriage rocked gently, its sway unbroken, rocking the traveller the way a cradle soothes a child. All sound dissolved until only the faint hum of the train remained, softer than memory. The rails were unseen, the water unbroken, the sky veiled in haze. The train seemed no longer to move, yet still it carried the traveller forward. Motion became stillness, stillness became rest, and rest became dream. The conductor bowed his head, his lantern now no brighter than a fading ember. The river disappeared into white, endless and quiet. The train glided forward unseen, a vessel of sleep carrying its passenger through eternity. The traveller surrendered fully, body and mind weightless, dreaming in the gentle cradle of the Riverbound Line. The endless sleeper. The last carriage was unlike any other. Its doorway opened into endless space, where rails stretched forward into mist without beginning or end. The walls dissolved into haze, the ceiling into stars. This was the endless sleeper, a train that carried its passengers into dream with no station to stop, no destination to find. The traveller stepped inside and found seats made not of fabric, but of woven light. They shimmered softly, glowing faintly in shades of silver and gold, always shifting, never fading. When the traveler sat, the light cradled them, adjusting to every curve of their body, holding them as if made only for rest. The rails stretched endlessly, their glow weaving into infinity. They pulsed with each turn of the wheels, creating waves that spread across the mist. The sound of the train softened until it became indistinguishable from the traveler's breathing. Both steady, both slow, both part of the same rhythm of night. Lanterns lined the carriage, yet they had no flame. Instead, they glowed with tiny galaxies, swirling with stars that drifted within their glass. Each lantern seemed to hold a universe, small and infinite at once. Their light spread across the carriage, painting the space with soft glimmers of dream. Beyond the rails, the mist parted to reveal horizons of color. Shades of violet, blue, and silver rippled across the distance like flowing rivers of sky. The train moved silently through them, the hues shifting with every breath of air. The traveler gazed into the horizon, watching it fold endlessly into itself. The conductor appeared at the far end, his lantern dim, his form steady. He raised no hand, spoke no word, yet his presence filled the carriage with calm. He stood like a guardian of silence, ensuring that this train's journey was nothing but peace. The traveler leaned back, soothed by his stillness. The whistle sounded once, long and low, but it did not echo. Instead, it dissolved instantly into the mist, leaving ripples of light that spread outward, then disappeared. The rails shimmered brighter for a moment, then dimmed again. The sound became memory, soft and fleeting, like a dream recalled upon waking. The walls of the carriage blurred further until there were no more than outlines. Stars filled the gaps, moving with the train as though the entire universe was its window. The traveler gazed upward, watching constellations drift past, each one forming, dissolving, and reforming again in endless cycles. The seats of woven light glowed warmer, wrapping the traveler in a soft radiance that sank into the skin. It carried warmth without weight, comfort without heat, like a memory of sunlight. Their shoulders sank deeper, their breath stretched longer, until their body felt held not by seat or train, but by the night itself. The rails pulsed brighter, creating faint echoes that shimmered into the mist. Each pulse sounded like a heartbeat, yet quieter, softer, as though it belonged to the dream of the world itself. The traveler's heartbeat followed it, slowing further, aligning until both beat as one, dissolving the line between body and night. The mist outside glowed faintly, swirling into shapes that resembled doorways. Each frame shimmered with silver light, but when the train passed, they dissolved into nothingness. No entry waited beyond them, only the infinite flow of night. The traveler watched them fade, the sight easing thought into quiet surrender. Lanterns glowed brighter for a moment, casting galaxies of stars across the seat and floor. Each point of light twinkled as though alive, creating constellations that shifted with the movement of the train. The traveler's eyes blurred, and the glowing clusters became hazy, soft enough to coax them toward rest. The train's rhythm slowed until the sound of the wheels was little more than a whisper. Each turn stretched longer, carrying silence between notes. The hush filled the carriage completely, leaving only the soft breathing of the traveler, steady and sure. Time slipped away, unmeasured, unneeded in this endless journey. The horizon changed colors again, deepening into indigo, then fading into silver streaks. Each hue bled into the next, flowing like water across the sky. The train glided through these rivers of color, as if moving between layers of dream. The traveler closed their eyes, yet the colors remained painted within. The conductor stood watch at the far end, his lantern dim but unwavering. He moved only slightly, as if the act of stillness itself was guiding the train. His presence reassured, his silence steady, a constant reminder that the rails of light stretched forever onward, never ending, never failing. The seats of woven light adjusted gently, reshaping themselves to fit the traveler's form. The glow pulsed softly, sending waves of warmth into tired muscles. Shoulders relaxed, arms loosened, and the rhythm of their body slowed further. Every part of them sank into rest, merging with the train's quiet motion. The whistle sang again, a note quieter than before, barely present. It faded instantly into mist, leaving only a shimmer of light that rippled outward. The glow touched the edges of the horizon, then disappeared, leaving everything dim once more. The sound seemed less like a call, more like a sigh of release. Beyond the rails, clusters of stars shifted into spirals, turning slowly, patiently. Their rhythm matched the motion of the train, aligning perfectly with its glide. The traveler felt pulled into their pattern, thought unraveling, breath slowing, as though the spiral itself was drawing them deeper into dream. Mist thickened around the carriage, wrapping it like a cocoon. Its glow pulsed gently, a steady rhythm that echoed in the traveler's chest. Each pulse softened their breathing, deepened their calm. The carriage felt no longer separate from the mist, but part of it, carried gently through endless night. The lanterns dimmed further, leaving only faint threads of light in their glass. They resembled fireflies suspended in still air, glowing briefly before fading, then glowing again. The traveler's thoughts mirrored them, flickering faintly before dissolving into silence. The endless sleeper carried them onward, body and mind surrendered. The rails ahead glowed faintly, vanishing into mist that never cleared. Their light stretched endlessly, always reaching forward, never ending. Each pulse of brightness echoed through the carriage, a silent rhythm that wrapped around the traveler like a lullaby. The glow promised safety in its infinity, and the traveler rested deeper. Outside, the mist parted slightly to reveal fragments of floating islands. They drifted in silence, each one glowing with moss and tiny lights like stars scattered across stone. None were large enough to land upon, yet all looked eternal. The train glided past, carrying their glow into the carriage as though it belonged there. Lanterns reflected against the glassy mist, scattering their glow until the carriage seemed filled with countless faint sparks. Each spark hovered for a breath, then faded. The traveler blinked slowly, and even with eyes closed, the sparks remained, drifting across the canvas of their mind. The whistle called again, faint and warm. It stretched into the night, dissolving immediately into the air. No echo followed, only silence, as though the note had been accepted by the mist itself. The traveler's chest rose once more, then fell longer than before, breath stretched into stillness. The seats of woven light shifted again, this time folding slightly around the traveler like arms. The glow deepened, carrying warmth through their back and shoulders, sinking into every muscle. They no longer felt the weight of their body, only the sense of being suspended in quiet radiance, safe and steady. The horizon rippled with faint colors, silver blending into lavender, lavender into pale gold. Each wave of hue drifted across the mist like tides. The train glided through them as if through water, each color brushing the carriage with its softness. The traveller's mind swam in them, dreamlike and unburdened. Stars above grew dimmer, fewer, yet their absence did not feel empty. The sky seemed to rest with the traveller, its glow less insistent, more tender. It was not a vanishing, but a quieting, like a fire slowly softening into embers. Their light lingered faintly, enough to hold, enough to soothe. The conductor moved slightly, lifting his lantern just enough to spread its glow across the carriage. Its galaxy of stars shimmered once more, sending faint sparkles along the walls. He lowered it again, and the sparks remained like memories. The traveller sank deeper into the cushions, thoughts dissolving into haze. The sound of the rails stretched longer, slower, until each note carried into silence. The wheels rolled with unhurried grace, never rushing, never stopping, endless in their rhythm. The traveller's breathing followed it perfectly, as if tied to the rails themselves, carried by their slow and steady hum. Mist closed in once more, folding tightly around the train. It glowed softly, not bright, but steady, like fabric woven of light. The carriage swayed gently, rocking the traveller into surrender. Their body melted into the seat, their thoughts lost completely. Only the endless journey remained, carrying them deeper into rest. The mist outside shifted to reveal rivers of light flowing across the horizon. They curved and twisted like streams in the sky, their glow silver and faintly blue. The train glided along them as though following their course. The traveller's eyelids fluttered, caught between sight and dream, until the rivers blurred into haze. Lanterns shimmered faintly, galaxies within them still turning slowly. Each swirl of stars moved with the rhythm of the rails, aligning, dissolving, then realigning again. The motion was patient, never hurried, infinite in its cycle. The traveller watched them for a time before their eyes lowered, holding only the afterglow. The conductor's lantern cast beams that spread along the length of the carriage. Shadows stretched and melted into the mist, blending seamlessly. The glow reached the traveller, wrapping them in soft warmth. It was neither bright nor heavy, only steady, as though the lantern was lit from the calm of night itself. The train passed over a wide stretch of glowing mist where the rails pulsed brighter. Each pulse echoed through the carriage like a heartbeat, steady and gentle. The traveller's breathing matched it without thought, each inhale timed with the light, each exhale fading into silence. Their body rested deeper, mind dissolving. Stars reappeared above, clearer now, as though the mist had drawn back to reveal them. They twinkled faintly, their glow reflected across the water-like haze below. The train seemed suspended between two skies, one above, one beneath. The traveller felt weightless within it, drifting on rails woven of night. The whistle sounded faintly, its note longer this time, as if singing to the stars. They shimmered in response, their light flickering like breath upon still water. The traveller listened without effort, each vibration sinking into their chest until sound and silence became the same, both pulling them deeper into rest. The seats glowed warmer, the woven light embracing more fully. Each strand pulsed gently, a rhythm of quiet energy. The warmth spread across the traveller's chest and arms, soothing aches, loosening tension. Their bodies sank further, as though carried not by fabric, but by radiance itself. Sleep tugged gently at them. A faint hum filled the air, too soft to be song, too steady to be silence. It blended with the motion of the rails, rising and falling in perfect balance. The traveller's thoughts dissolved into its cadence, their mind quieting until only the hum remained, a single thread weaving into dream. Mist parted slightly to reveal tall shapes, towers of stone rising in the distance. Each one glowed faintly, covered in moss that shimmered with silver light. They passed in silence, their size immense, yet their presence calm. The train glided by without pause, leaving only the faint glow behind. The horizon darkened once more, the colors fading into deep blues and purples. Lanterns dimmed further, their galaxies still visible but soft, as though fading into slumber themselves. The travelers' breathing slowed again, chest rising and falling in long stretches. The endless sleeper pressed forward, carrying them endlessly into dream. The rails ahead flickered faintly, glowing like threads woven into the mist. Each flicker carried a pulse that spread outward, touching the carriage, touching the traveler. The pulses softened their chest and slowed their heartbeat. It felt as if the train itself breathed, and the traveler was breathing with it. Above, stars bent into arches, forming delicate bridges of light that stretched across the sky. The train passed beneath them silently, as if rolling under doorways between dreams. Each arch faded as it passed, leaving no trace behind, yet each one deepened the sense of stepping further into endless night. Lanterns dimmed again, their galaxies spinning slower within the glass. The stars inside moved like drifting snow, settling gently, endlessly. The glow cast faint patterns across the traveller's hands and chest, patterns that faded as soon as they were seen. They did not linger, and yet they soothed all the same. The mist outside swirled into slow-moving spirals. Their edges shimmered like silver threads caught in water. The spirals opened and closed again as the train glided through them. Each one left behind a faint trail of glow, brushing against the carriage before dissolving into nothingness, quiet as the traveller's thoughts. The whistle called out softly, little more than a breath. It faded instantly into the spiraling mist. The spirals glowed brighter, then dimmed again, as though answering the sound. The traveller exhaled with the fading note, breath long and slow, body sinking deeper into rest as silence reclaimed the night. The seats glowed warmer again, the woven strands reshaping, folding slightly closer around the traveller. Their glow pulsed like waves, ebbing and flowing with the rhythm of the rails. Muscles loosened further, thoughts slipped away. Each pulse carried the body deeper, until stillness wrapped around them fully, unbroken, eternal. The horizon revealed faint mountains rising in the distance, their peaks glowing with soft silver haze. They stood tall yet silent, unmoving as the train glided past. Their shapes blurred quickly into mist, leaving only their glow lingering faintly in memory. The traveller felt as though they had passed through a dream. Lanterns flickered briefly, then steadied. Their galaxies of stars now looked faint, as if falling into rest. The glass glowed gently, casting only enough light to comfort. The carriage darkened into shadows, shadows soft enough to hold. The traveller's body sank heavier, eyelids closed, dreams seeping fully into their mind. The conductor stood silently at the far end, his lantern dim as an ember. Mist swirled around him, glowing faintly, giving him the appearance of blending into the night. He raised no hand, gave no signal, only stood steady. His stillness was enough to assure the traveller that all was safe. The rails glowed faintly, their lines endless, their light constant. The train rolled forward without pause, without hurry, its sound a steady hum. The world outside blurred into colorless haze, leaving nothing to distract, nothing to disturb. The traveller's breathing slowed until it matched the hum exactly, sleep drawing nearer. The sky above softened into a deep canvas of indigo, scattered with stars that seemed slower now, as though they too were drifting into slumber. Their lights shimmered faintly across the mist, reaching the carriage in delicate waves. The traveller felt wrapped in that glow, floating between silence and dream. Rails glimmered beneath the mist, their glow steady, unbroken. Each pulse along the tracks moved like breath itself, long and slow. The hum of the train carried that rhythm through the carriage, until every sound, every movement aligned with the pace of sleep. The traveller sank further, eyes closed completely now. Lanterns glowed faintly, their galaxies dim, their stars barely twinkling. The glass still swirled, but more slowly, like water thick with calm. Their glow reflected on the walls as soft waves of light, moving in rhythm with the rails. Each wave brushed across the traveller, coaxing them deeper into dream. The whistle called again, softer than ever, a note so faint it seemed to exist only inside the mind. Mist brightened briefly, then dimmed back into stillness. The note lingered in silence, not as sound, but as calm that filled every corner of the carriage. The traveller's chest rose and fell in time. The seats of woven light folded tighter around the traveller, glowing with a warmth that spread across their body. The glow was not strong, only steady, like a hearth at the edge of dream. Muscles loosened, limbs felt weightless. The traveller was no longer seated, but floating in radiance itself. Outside, faint shapes appeared in the mist, resembling bridges of silver. They arched gracefully over the rails, glowing with soft light. The train passed beneath them one by one, each arch dimming as it vanished behind. Every crossing deepened the hush within the carriage, guiding the traveller further towards sleep. The mountains returned faintly in the distance, their glow barely visible. Their peaks rose like shadows against the indigo sky, but quickly dissolved into haze. They left behind only a sense of vastness, a reminder that the train travelled endlessly. The traveller breathed easier, comforted by that endless horizon of calm. Lanterns dimmed further, their glow reduced to tiny sparks. The galaxies within spun slower, their stars drifting into stillness. They resembled the last embers of fire, glowing quietly before fading. Their light touched the traveller's cheeks, soft and kind, carrying them deeper into the hush of night. The conductor's lantern remained the brightest, though even it glowed faintly now, its light reflected in the mist, creating circles that widened, then dissolved. He stood unmoving, silent, as though guarding the threshold between waking and dream. His presence kept the traveller secure as their minds surrendered fully to rest. The rails shimmered with less intensity, their glow nearly lost within the mist. Yet they remained constant, stretching endlessly forward. The hum of the wheels softened further, long pauses between each note. The traveller's breathing matched perfectly, every inhale and exhale carrying them deeper into the boundless calm of the endless sleeper. The horizon vanished entirely, leaving only mist and rails. Darkness softened into grey, grey into silver, silver into nothingness. The train floated in it without effort, a vessel carried by stillness alone. The traveler's body melted deeper, every thought dissolved, their minds sinking into the silence of infinity. Lanterns flickered once, then steadied into the faintest glow. Their galaxies looked almost still, as if their stars too were sleeping. Each point of light lingered, dimmed, then disappeared, leaving the glass like empty crystal. Their fading did not feel like loss, but like surrender, a final coaxing into rest. The whistle called, softer than a breath, so faint it might have been imagined. It vanished instantly into the mist, leaving only silence. The traveler's chest rose once more, then fell longer, as though their body had followed the note outward. The sound lingered only as calm, too soft to wake. The seats of woven light dimmed to a steady glow, wrapping the traveler fully. The warmth remained, a constant presence against the coolness of the mist. It did not pulse now, only held them as though cradling the last edge of wakefulness. Comfort replaced motion, stillness replaced time. The rails ahead no longer pulsed but glowed faintly, like embers hidden within ash. Their light stretched endlessly forward, guiding with no effort, no urgency. The hum of the wheels quieted further, until it was almost silence. The traveler's breathing fell into the same rhythm, slow, deep, unbroken. The mist grew denser, wrapping tighter around the train until the outside world disappeared completely. It was not heavy, but soft, a cocoon of silver light. Within it, no movement could be seen, no horizon, no stars. Only the train remained, endless and calm, carrying its passenger deeper into dream. Lanterns within the carriage dimmed into faint shadows, their galaxies gone, their glass barely lit. Only the conductor's lantern remained, steady as a single star. Its glow was no longer bright, only enough to mark presence. The traveler let go of even the thought of it, held by its assurance. The whistle did not sound again. Instead, silence filled every corner of the carriage. Silence so deep it carried warmth, silence that stretched like rails themselves. The traveler's mind floated in it, weightless, lost. The silence became not emptiness, but fullness, like the embrace of dream itself. The conductor lowered his lantern, its glow now no stronger than an ember. He did not move, did not speak. He stood as still as the mist, as steady as the rails. His presence was enough, a final promise that the journey continued, even as the traveler surrendered completely. The train glided forward, unseen, through mist without end, across rails that stretched forever. The lantern faded into darkness. The hum of the wheels disappeared into silence. The traveler drifted entirely into sleep, body and mind gone weightless, carried in the endless cradle of the sleeper, dreaming without end.